Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another proRevenge Reddit video. If you are new to the channel, then subscribe, and click on notifications so you don't miss out on the fun. In our first story, when the senior manager tries to get our OP fired, he is ready to give up, but then finds the opportunity to get his revenge and save his job. Let's jump right in. I was hired by a company as an assistant manager, a job I was well qualified for. The owner is rarely on site as he owns several businesses. The company is run by a general manager who hired me, but who works mostly second shift and who I therefore would have little daily contact with since I was hired for first shift. I was assigned to Eva for training. Eva was a manager and had been with the company for 5 years. I trained with her for a few days and then I was on my own. Though she and I had overlapping shifts and would see each other for a few days a week, we were friendly but not close. After a few months, I was doing well at my job and had even gotten some new procedures adopted to help boost sales. Eva began to act resentfully. She would correct me for small things and took any opportunity to remind me that she had trained me. It didn't matter to me. She wasn't my boss. I reported to the general manager, so I mostly just ignored her. What I didn't know was that Eva was not just tight with the general manager, but they had worked together at another place for 10 years before this one. One day at shift end, the general manager asks to talk. The GM tells me it's not working out and says I'm still making mistakes at 6 months that I shouldn't be. I ask for examples. A few of them were petty matters Eva had mentioned, but most of them were just not true. I tried to argue, but it was clear that I was set up. I decided to reach out to the owner since I had nothing to lose. He was sympathetic, but said he relies on the general manager to run the business and had to support her decision. Then he mentioned that if things hadn't been so bad between me and Eva, it probably could have worked out. That's when I knew she was behind me being fired from a job I needed, really liked, and was making great money from, and I vowed to get revenge. I started by searching her online info. In less than an hour, I had uncovered gold thanks to one of those pay services. About 3 months prior, Eva was arrested and charged with DWI in a neighboring state. The court record showed she had a hearing coming up in a few weeks. That was enough to get her fired. It affects a professional license she and I had to have as management. Per state law, license holders must report criminal charges to the licensing board, and in the case of a DWI arrest, licenses are typically suspended pending trial. I called the owner and told him what I discovered. It was news to him. I guess since it was out of state, Eva was keeping it a secret. Maybe she was hoping to get let off the charges. The next day, the owner called and said Eva was fired. He thanked me for telling him about her DWI, apologized for how I was fired, and offered me Eva's position and salary. He asked me to come in the next morning to meet with him and to cover Eva's shift. I accepted. That alone was sweetly satisfying revenge, but what happened next was the icing on the cake. I got to work extra early, met with the owner and the GM, and we all agreed to start fresh. Cool. It was still an hour before opening, and I was in the back of the place when I heard the front door chime. When I came out a few minutes later, Eva was there, tears flowing, begging the owner for her job back. She obviously didn't know I was there because when she saw me, her whole body seized and her shocked expression was priceless. I walked right by her, staring her down with a grin, and went outside. Eva came out a minute later and wouldn't make eye contact. As she walked away, I said, "Good luck on the 23rd." That was her court date. In story number 2, when our OP's stepfather tricks him out of his laptop, our OP becomes upset. How does the stepfather react when OP tricks him out of his car? 13 years ago, I was in my late teens, living on my own and really struggling to live financially. One of the few possessions I had was an old laptop. My laptop had stopped working properly, and while I'm fairly proficient in using a computer, I had no idea about fixing them. I did a bit of searching on the internet, but couldn't get it working, so I asked my stepdad to take a look. He had a quick look and said it was flipped, but he'll take it off my hands if I don't want it, so I said sure. If it's broken, then it's no good to me. 10 minutes later, I walk in the room and he's using it. I asked if he fixed it and he says, "Yeah, thanks for the laptop." I was obviously pissed. My mom says she wasn't getting involved, and his only response was that he did a quick internet search to find the fix and I could have done the same. I was broke and he took one of my only possessions, even though he had a PC and a laptop already. A few months later, I was visiting my mom and stepdad when I had an idea. While I am useless with computers, I'm very competent with mechanics, specifically Audis, and my stepdad had a 2001 Audi A3. Before coming in the house, I went under his car and unplugged the oil level sensor and a vac line for the turbo. Later on that day, he went to go to the shop or something. When he started the car, it threw up oil warning lights on the dash and wouldn't boost, so he turned it off and had a look of concern on his face. I went out to ask him what's up, and he said that something has gone majorly wrong. He says something along the lines of catastrophic turbo failure or engine failure. He's already spent quite a bit on repairs and didn't want to spend any more money on it, so spoke to my mom about just cutting his losses and scrapping it. I asked how much it's worth at the scrapyard, and he says £100, so I ever so graciously offered £120 to take it off his hands to maybe part it out, which he accepts. He signed over the logbook, title, and wrote me a receipt of purchase and handed the keys over. I walked outside, lifted the bonnet, pretended to look at my phone for a minute, went under the car and plugged the vac line and oil sensor back in, fired it straight up and drove around the block. When I got back, I gave him the thumbs up and said, "It's all fine now." His mouth was wide open and he was mega pissed, and my reply was, "You could have found the solution too with a quick internet search." He tried arguing that it wasn't fair. If it's working, then I can't just take his car, but I said he didn't have a problem tricking me out of my laptop and that he's already signed the car over to me, so tough luck. My mom kinda laughed and said she's not getting involved and that it was his own fault. I still have the car to this day, and it's practically in showroom condition and runs sweet. Here's the old girl in all her shiny glory. Here's an edit. Guys and gals, it's not that unbelievable. I tricked someone into thinking their car was broken so I could have it. Yes, it's 100% true. Yes, I know I'm a butthole, and I don't deny that it was a douche move, but I thought people might get a kick out of a bit of revenge. I know I sure did. In story 3, when our OP is ready to move on to a new job, his bosses aren't willing to let him go and try to force him to stay by keeping his tools and holding up his pay. Fine. Congratulations on losing your business. I'm a trade painter that worked for around 5 years, essentially running a company for an owner who took a very hands-off approach. He was essentially a name and working capital and not much else. After getting an offer to work for a bigger commercial company, and my old boss's realization he would have to run his own company, as there really wasn't anyone else in-house that was qualified, he resorted to acting like a child to try and make me stay. Made me run around the world to receive my final pay, which I never even got, and refused to return my tools spread throughout various jobs. Revenge time. As luck would have it, another even better offer from an even bigger company ended up in my lap that wanted to subcontract me a very substantial amount of their work. But I'm going to need more employees for that. So I go through and call each and every member of the original company and offer them a $3 an hour raise to work for me, which all of them accepted. After all, they know me. They've worked for me for years, and it's more money. No brainer. They barely know the owner, and what they do know, they don't like. Lol. I then asked them to grab only my tools, which made up the vast majority of tools on all the jobs, from their respective jobs when they leave for the weekend on Friday. Monday rolls around and my old boss is getting calls left and right from supervisors asking why nobody is at work and what's going on. He was so hands-off he didn't even have the employees' phone numbers to call and ask them. At this point, he is essentially without employees and he has little to no tools to use to complete any of his jobs. Fast forward 6 months and his company has now closed. He's lost all his work. The new addition he is doing to his house has come to a grinding halt halfway through construction. He is hurting big time. In the end, I never did get my last check, but I did get a great group of workers and a company of my own, so I guess I'll just call it even. This is John from /bash. Call to action. I would really love to get to 10,000 subscribers, so if you can help me out in any way, I would really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.